and welcome to episode 45 of the Knitty Heather podcast. My name is Heather and I'm coming to you from Kent, Washington, where I live with my husband Tom and our Cavalier King Charles Spaniel Pepper. This is my podcast where I talk all about everything I am working on with knitting and crocheting, and I always love to share about makers. Any pattern designers, yarn dyers, or makers of other accessories that add to the beauty of our fiber community. If you are a new viewer, welcome. I am so happy that you found me and I hope you enjoy yourself. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I really, truly appreciate it. If you would like to follow me, I am at Knitty Heather on Instagram, and I would love to see what you are up to on Instagram as well. All of the patterns and yarn and accessories I talk about will be listed and linked in the description box below. Today is Sunday, March 27th, 2022, and I have a lot to tell you about, so let's get started. Today I am wearing a spiral scarf. This is the Learn to Knit a Spiral Scarf pattern by Stacey Perry of Very Pink Knits. It is a beautiful one skein project that shows off beautiful yarn. This yarn I'm using, I believe, was from Hazel Knits, but I'm not entirely sure of the colorway. It is a very addicting, very fun scarf that achieves this ruffle effect or spiral effect by doing short rows in these little wedges. It is absolutely so much fun to knit and works up very quickly. I believe this was a DK yarn that I used, but you could hold fingering double or make it just a little wider by using a worsted weight yarn. It's really a very versatile pattern, and like I said, really shows off a beautiful yarn very, very well. I used double pointed needles when I worked this up because it is never wider than I think about 16 stitches or so. And it is a great gift knit because it does work up so quickly. So if you're already starting to think about stockpiling some gifts for the holiday season, this is a great pattern to look into. Check out the Learn to Knit a Spiral Scarf pattern by Stacey Perry of Very Pink Knits. Now on to a little bit of stash enhancement. I got two of my clubs recently that I would love to share with you. First is from Crystal Skies, hand dyed on Etsy. I belong to her monthly mystery mini skein club, where she sends you a pack of 5 minis that are inspired by a mystery color that she comes up with, whatever she decides to use as inspiration that month. This month, the inspiration is called Golden Poppy. Here are the beautiful colors. And here's kind of her logo. I have belonged to this club for quite a while and I always love these little minis. I am adding them to my granny stripe blanket, and I do need to get back to work on that because I am stockpiling quite a few of these, but they're so fun and pretty, and she has such a great sense of color with her dyeing. Check out Crystal Skies hand dyed on Etsy. My other club I got was my Broadway club from Trilogy Yarns, Nancy out of Spokane, and her February colorway for this club was Miss Saigon. Here is the artwork for that show. I have seen this show and the music is beautiful, but it's been a while. I really love the score of that one, but check out how she nailed that colorway. Such pretty kind of burgundies and golds. Here is her label, Trilogy Yarn. This is her plush sock yarn, which is 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. Really love her dyeing style as well. She's one of my favorite dyers, and I was super excited that she was continuing with her Broadway club. Just kind of comparison with the picture here. I love when they send an inspiration picture for something so you can really see where they got their color scheme from. This was Miss Saigon from Trilogy Yarns monthly Broadway club. She has a lot of really fun yarn clubs on her website. Check out trilogyyarn.com. Now on to my finished objects. First, I was able to finish my Sleeping Baby's castle blanket for my niece, who is still yet to be born, but hopefully will be making her appearance very soon. The pattern is called the Sleeping Baby's Castle Blanket by Sally Diane Rainey. It's kind of too big to show on camera, so I will insert some pictures here. It is such a beautiful blanket with a nice cable pattern on the top and bottom and around the side edges. And then it has a gorgeous castle motif in the middle that was so much fun to do. It did have written and charted instructions. And even though it looks a little bit complicated, none of the stitches were very difficult at all. If you are looking for a baby blanket, I highly recommend this one. It was so much fun to knit. And even the cable motif on the top and bottom with the little eyelet strips would be beautiful by itself in a baby blanket. The yarn I used was Knit Picks Comfy Worsted in the colorway Silver Sage, and I think that will look really nice in her nursery, and I hope she really loves it. I have washed and blocked it, and it did very nicely in the gentle cycle in the washer and dryer. Came out beautifully. The Knit Picks Comfy is an acrylic cotton blend, so hopefully it will hold up really nicely. But like I said, I washed it and it's all ready to be gifted to her. Check out the Sleeping Baby Castle Blanket by Sally Diane Rainey. My next finished object is my adult size crochet beanie that I have been working on. My friends and I in the Love and Stitches membership group have been working on crochet throughout the month of March, and I have been so excited to try my first crochet hat. Last time I showed you a smaller baby size beanie, and I did the adult size for this pattern for myself this time. I wasn't very far when I showed it on the last podcast, but I did finish it. This is the half double crochet beanie by Rhonda Mall of Umbaka Designs. This is a free pattern on Ravelry, and she also has one that is a double crochet beanie, so I might try that at some point too. I did do the large size because I do have a rather big head, and it definitely is big enough. I probably could have gone to the medium size, but I don't mind it really being able to fit nicely. It's almost even a little bit slouchy on me. The yarn I used was from Crystal Skies Hand Dyed. The colorway was called Dirigible Plume, and it was from her Harry Potter inspired club last year. I got it on her bangle worsted base, which is what this pattern calls for, is a worsted weight yarn. It is so soft, 100% superwash merino, really nice to work up, and I've been wearing this hat around a little bit and it is so comfortable. The hook size I used was an I 5.5 millimeter, and I think it just looks really nice. I love how the half double crochet stitch looks, and I love how this yarn crocheted up. It looks really nice. I love that there isn't really any major pooling of any of the colors. It just worked up super nicely. The only thing I would try to do better next time is be a little bit looser on the last row where I'm slip stitching around. And I do believe she does tell you in the pattern to make it loose, and it definitely fits, but it's a little tight on the edge. I should have been a little bit looser on the last round when I was slip stitching all of the stitches. But it made a nice finish, and I will keep that in mind for next time. This is the half double crochet beanie by Rhonda Mall of Umbaka Designs, knit up in Crystal Skies Hand Dyed bangle worsted in the colorway Dirigible Plume. My last finished objects are a couple pairs of socks. I was able to finish my bigger sleeping socks that I cast on at the beginning of this month. First is my DK weight pair of socks. Here they are. I was following the DK weight vanilla sock pattern by Kay Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady, and the yarn I used is Zen Yarn Garden Superfine Fingering in the colorway Tranquility. Now that is a fingering weight yarn, but I held it double to get a DK sock, and I really liked doing that. I think it turned out really nicely. I will be excited to wear these very soon. I really like how this was a very tonal, pretty blue. As you can tell, this pattern has a nice slip stitch, heel flap, and gusset construction. It is a top-down design, so I did 10 rounds of a 2x2 rib. I only did 20 rounds down the leg for this one because there was only 400 yards in the skein, which meant that if I held it double, it was only 200. And usually a regular skein of DK weight's closer to about 230 yards or so. And I am glad because I didn't have very much left. So I did 20 rounds down the leg. I did the slip stitch, heel flap, and gusset that she calls for, and then 35 rounds down the foot before I closed up the toe. I am super pleased with how these came out. They're gonna be so squishy, so comfortable. I don't think I've ever actually made socks yet out of the superfine fingering from Zen Yarn Garden. I used to belong to their fancy feet box, and I believe that's where I got this skein of yarn years and years ago. So I'm excited to see how this yarn feels in a sock and wears as I sleep in them. It is a 90% superwash merino, 10% nylon, so I think it should do great since it does still have a little bit of nylon. So I'm excited to see how these do. This is the DK Weight Vanilla Sock Pattern by Kay Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady, knit up in Zen Yarn Garden Superfine Fingering in the colorway Tranquility. Last but not least is my pair of worsted sleeping socks. This is the Learn to Knit Socks pattern by Stacey Perry of Very Pink Knits. And the yarn I used is the worsted base from Desert Vista Dye Works in the colorway Zombody Over the Rainbow. Give you a quick look at them. I'm very proud of myself. As you can tell, I did not try to match them up. And I think they turned out really fun. I had never tried her worsted base yet, so I'm really anxious to start wearing these. I think they're going to be super fun. As you can see, she's got the rainbow colors, but with some of the zombie stripes as well that she's famous for. Again, this is another slip stitch, heel flap, and gusset construction. I started at the top down with 12 rounds of a 2x2 rib. I did 30 rounds down the leg, the slip stitch, heel flap, and gusset, and then 35 more rounds down the foot before I closed the toe. The yarn worked up really nicely, and I cannot wait to see how these feel on my feet at night. This is the Learn to Knit Socks pattern by Stacey Perry, knit up in Desert Vista Dye Works Zombody Over the Rainbow on her worsted base. Now on to my works in progress. My first work in progress is my March pair of socks for the 8th annual Desert Vista Dye Works monthly sock club. I have it in my B project bag from MLD Threads on Etsy with my B Progress Keeper as the zipper pull, and of course my new Desert Vista Dye Works button on it to remind myself what I have in this bag. And I'm so excited about these socks. I cannot wait to finish them. I'm very close. What I am using is her 2021 exclusive skein that I earned for completing last year's sock club. And what she did is she sent us a sock blank. So what I did, it was a double knit sock blank. So I separated both of the strands of yarn and then I wound them differently so that they would come out a little bit differently when I knit them up. You can tell the yarn has been in the sock blank because it's a little bit kind of wiry and kinky, but it's knitting up beautifully. So here's the first one. I did finish the Fish Lips Kiss Heel. My Oreo Ice Cream Progress Keeper is from Suker Miniatures. So this is the sock that I started with the cooler colors, that end of her sock blank. And I am pretty much at the point where I can just finish knitting up the leg and then decide when I want to start my ribbing for the cuff. I'll maybe do 5 or 10 more rounds of just plain stockinette before I start the cuff. And then here is what the second sock is looking like. I am working these in tandem. This Ice Cream Cone Progress Keeper is also from Suker Miniatures. I've done the Fish Lips Kiss Heel on this. And then as you can tell, this is from the warmer colors, the end where she had some warmer colors in the sock blank. So I've been totally enjoying all of these colors. They are just fantastic. And I think it's super fun that these socks are going to be different. I am using 32-inch ChiaoGoo needles for magic loop. And like I say, I am doing these in tandem. So I'm doing 5 rounds on this sock, 5 rounds on this sock. And I think I will do about 10 more rounds up the leg and then try to do as much ribbing as I have time for before the end of the month. I'd like to try to get about 20 rounds of ribbing in just to use up as much of these beautiful colors. Here's the other cake. Just to use up as much of these beautiful colors as I possibly can. This was such a gorgeous prize for her sock club last year, and I am so motivated to finish this year's sock club to see what kind of beautiful prize she'll have in store for us next year. Not that it's all about the prizes. It's always just fun to knit up her yarn, but the prizes are super fun. So here they are one more time. Really loving every single one of these colors. I don't think I can say which sock is my favorite. These are plain vanilla socks knit toe up in tandem with the Fish Lips Kiss Heel using the 2021 exclusive colorway from Desert Vista Dye Works. My next work in progress is another sock. I started these at the beginning of the month as well, and I have it in my cute Alice in Wonderland project bag from Kitsch is the New Black on Etsy. I have the first sock done. Here it is. And here is my second sock. I finished the shadow wrap heel, which I am using for this. That is from the Socksploration pattern by Denise DeSantis, also known as Earth Tones Girl. I have my Shamrock Progress Keeper from Sam's Tiny Trinkets on Etsy. And I have about 30 more rounds down the foot before I do the rounded toe that I like to do. I am doing these on my ChiaoGoo 9-inch circulars, and then I'll need to switch to magic loop when I do the toe. The shadow wrap heel turned out very nicely, and this yarn is just gorgeous. Here it is in the cake. This is Hedgehog Fibers. It is a 90% superwash merino, 10% nylon, and it is in the colorway Park Life. So pretty with these pink and highlighter yellow speckles. I just absolutely love how this is knitting up, and it really feels good. Like, this is just a nice, soft, but you can tell that it's going to be really sturdy yarn. As you can tell, I am knitting these cuff down. I did 20 rounds of a 2x2 rib, and I did, I think, 50 rounds down the leg. I did my heel, and then I'm gonna do about 50 rounds down the foot as well before my toe. I wanted to do these just plain vanilla because the yarn was so pretty, and I just wanted to let all those gorgeous speckles speak for themselves. This is a plain vanilla sock knit cuff down using the shadow wrap heel from the Socksploration pattern by Denise DeSantis, knit up in Hedgehog Fibers in the colorway Park Life. Last but certainly not least, I would like to tell you about one of my Scrappy projects. I have not showed this in a long time because I haven't really made a bunch of progress until recently when I've been trying to schedule in some time to get these projects done. I am about halfway through both of them, so they will get done very soon. These are my extra Scrappy projects from my Hue Loco Advent from 2020. This was a fade advent. And the first thing that I'm doing with these is a nice, just tubular cowl. This will be like a double thick, long cowl that I'll be able to wrap twice around my neck. I did a similar thing with another advent, but as you can see, these are really fading nicely. Started with kind of some of these light pinks and now into some blues. And the next color is kind of transitioning from some blues into teals. What I am doing is I am doing 6 rounds. I cast on 90 stitches and I am knitting 6 rounds in each color. And then I just need to tie the 2 colors together and snip the ends because they will end up being inside. I started with a provisional cast on, and then I will seam it together with the Kitchener stitch to make a big loop. This is the 12th color, and there were 24. So like I said, I am about halfway through this cowl, and I think it's just gonna be really fun. I can turn it to whatever color will look best with whatever I'm wearing. And it's just a good use. I just thought this yarn was so pretty that I couldn't just throw it into my scrap bin yet. I wanted to make some more things with it. So this is just kind of a little loopy cowl, my own design, knit up in Hue Loco's 2020 Fade Advent. Oh, and I do have it in my cute dog bag from Ryan's Marketplace on Etsy. And then the other thing I am doing with that same advent, once I get my 6 rounds done on the cowl, I start adding them to my very first pair of Scrappy Socks. Now I am keeping these in my drawstring bag from Mrs. Brown's Bags. And I am working on these in tandem using my 32-inch Knitter's Pride Carbons needles. These nice black ones. So here is how those exact same colors are knitting up in a Scrappy sock. Super fun, right? And I am trying to be really good and weave in the ends as I go, as I finish a color, just so that I don't have a million ends to weave in when I am done. I am 5 rounds into the leg. I am doing 5 rounds per color for these. I finished the foot, and then I did a Fish Lips Kiss Heel in a contrasting gray color that I also used for the toe. This was a Cascade Heritage sock yarn. Not quite sure what the gray colorway is, but it is just a nice dark charcoaly gray. My Cruella Progress Keeper that I am using on this one is from Fangirl Fibers. So this again is just vanilla. I'm doing 5 rounds per color, and my plan is to knit up through color 20, just plain stockinette, and then colors 21, 22, 23, and 24, I will do 20 rounds of the 2x2 ribbing for the cuff. And I think that's gonna look really nice. Here is the other one. This Lady Tremaine is also from Fangirl Fibers. And I really am enjoying doing Scrappy Socks. I am trying to think of other yarn that I can use for my next pair of Scrappy Socks. I have a few ideas in mind, but I'm really thinking these are just gonna be fun. And again, I just really felt like I needed to use up as much of this yarn as possible. These are Scrappy Socks knit up in Hue Loco's 2020 Fade Advent. Well, I think that is about all I have for you this week. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me. I really appreciate you watching. Please don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe. That would really mean a lot to me. And as always, please let me know if you have any other ideas or suggestions or feedback for the podcast. You are more than welcome to leave a comment down below or message me on Instagram. I am at Knitty Heather on Instagram, and I would love to hear from you. But until next time, be well, be kind, and happy knitting. We'll see you next time. Bye.